Hello, welcome to our virtual ladies Bible study. You'll have to bear with me. I'm not used to filming myself like this, so this is new for me. But I have a little series that I was going to do virtually, and the title of it is The Influential Women in the Life of Moses. So when you think about the life of Moses, you have midwives, you have the mother of Moses, you have Moses' sister, and you also have Moses' wife. So I'm going to be doing this little series, and I'm going to be starting with the midwives. But you'll notice that it's influential women, and so for my introduction, I'd like to talk a little bit about influence. A majority of our goal as Christian women is to have an influence, a good influence over those that we meet, people in our family, people in the church family. And, there are so many ways that we do influence others that we may not even consider. We can directly influence people, or we can indirectly influence people. And godly influence can be found in, the things we say, how we treat others, the things that we like to do, or how we dress, or the places that we go. And as mothers, if you've been blessed to be a mother, you have a direct influence over your children. I mean, that's your goal as a mom, is to be a godly influence on your children, hopefully bring them up in the nurture and admonition of the Lord. You want to direct the paths that they'll take in life. So, we can influence our husbands too. As wives, we have a great influence over our husbands. A good wife can, or a wife can make or break her husband. So, we always want to be a good support for our husbands, and we have that influence. We have the power to influence people for good or bad. And, we always want that to be good. Our goal is to lead others to Christ. And, even if we're not preachers and elders and deacons in the church as women, we still have such a great role to influence children in the Bible school program, or even just in our daily walk as wives, out at the job, as mothers. Just our example in how others hear us talk, that can be a great influencer of others towards Christ. So, like I said, we may not have these up in front leadership roles in the church, but we have just as great a responsibility in our daily walk with Christ as men have in their leadership roles in the church. And we never should downplay that. We have to see the importance of that. And that's the whole point of this study, is looking at these women and what they did and how they behaved and how they had a great impact on this man, Moses. So, everybody knows Moses pretty much, but he's such a great character when you think of the standout characters of the Old Testament, or even, being brought forward into the New and being referred back to so many times. You have this man, Moses. And in the book of Hebrews, chapter 11, if you have your Bible, you might want to look at these verses. I'm going to use my phone for my Bible today because my eyes are just not that great, and this is lit so I can see it. But Hebrews chapter 11, verses 24 through 28. I'm going to turn over there right now. Hebrews chapter 11, verse 24. The Bible gives its own divine biography of Moses. So I'm going to read this, starting Hebrews chapter 11, verse 24. By faith Moses, when he was come to years, refused to be called the son of Pharaoh's daughter, choosing rather to suffer affliction with the people of God than to enjoy the pleasure of sin for a season, esteeming the reproach of Christ greater riches than the treasures in Egypt, for he had respect unto the recompense of the reward. By faith he forsook Egypt, not fearing the wrath of the king, for he endured as seeing him who is invisible. Through faith he kept the Passover and the sprinkling of blood, lest he that destroyed the firstborn should touch them. And it goes on, but that's a brief little biography of who this man was. And it's pretty amazing just in those few verses what we get of the character of Moses. I mean, when you think about it, you know, he's a little baby hidden in a basket, found by Pharaoh's daughter, brought into Pharaoh's household. Imagine the riches, imagine the education, imagine what he's surrounded by, and yet you see, and it's not even directly told to us, but that you see the influence of his Hebrew mother in him, and that he has a keen sense of loyalty to his own people, even though he's being raised by Pharaoh or in Pharaoh's household. Despite all their secular education and what he was surrounded by, he rises up in defense of the Hebrew slave that he sees being abused by an Egyptian. So we see that and we wonder, wow, where does that loyalty and defense come from? It's quite obvious that his own mother, who we'll see as we get to her later, must have had a great influence in teaching him about his people and where he came from, and teaching him about God and all of those things. So the women that played a key role in the life of Moses, it had to start with the midwives. Exodus chapter 1, verses 15 through 21. And I think I'm going to take a moment to turn in my phone to Exodus, if you'd like to turn there as well. That's where all this is taking place. Way back here in the second book of the Old Testament. Exodus chapter 1, starting verse 15. 15 through 21. We'll just read that. And the king of Egypt spake to the Hebrew midwives, of which the name of one was Shiphrah, and the name of the other Puah. And he said, when ye do, the office of a midwife to the Hebrew women, and see them upon the stools, giving birth, if it be a son, then ye shall kill him, but if it be a daughter, then she shall live. Now you understand that the backdrop of this is that Pharaoh saw the number of slaves increasing, the Hebrew people were increasing, and he sees a danger in this because he thinks one day they're going to outnumber us, there's going to be an uprising, and we're going to lose our slaves. So he worries about this, and so he decides to take care of it by infanticide, or whatever the term is that we're wanting to use here. So he instructs these midwives, particularly these two, to start killing any Hebrew boy that's born. But the midwives feared God and did not as the king of Egypt commanded them. But he saved, excuse me for sniffing, my nose is getting a little runny. Excuse me, where was I? King of Egypt called for the midwives, said to them, why, oh, sorry again. This is not going to be perfect. Midwives feared God, there we go, and did not as the king of Egypt commanded them, but saved the men and children alive. And the king of Egypt called for the midwives, and said unto them, why have ye done this thing, and have saved the men and children alive? And the midwives said unto Pharaoh, because the Hebrew women are not as Egyptian women, for they are lively, and are delivered ere the midwives come into them. Therefore God dealt well with the midwives, and the people multiplied and waxed very mighty. So that's interesting. It's interesting, their answer. Could have been true or maybe not true, but they feared God and they were going to obey God rather than men. So the midwives. So Pharaoh realizes that the numbers of the Hebrew slaves are too great. He wants the baby boys killed. So Puah and Shiphrah, it's amazing how these women would challenge the authority of the day. You know, we have to realize the impact that their standing up for what's right had on the Hebrew people, because you see that their numbers are multiplying, which Moses would have been one of those. He's left alive, but yet you see as we get to that point that, of course, there's still a fear, which his mother has, and so she wants to save him so he won't still be hunted down and murdered. But to begin with, we see these midwives stepping in. They recognize good from evil and they obey the good. So you see that the people as a whole are blessed because of what they did. And their own personal households are blessed, these women. So they had a choice to make. You know, they had to discern good from evil and right from wrong. And so we can't allow society to tell us what's right and wrong either. Only God can do that. We're surrounded by a lot of people that want to tell us what's right and what's wrong. And a lot of people get confused, even in the church, of what's right and wrong because of the push of society, from especially nowadays with social media and all that's going on out in the world. So we have to have our senses exercised to discern good from evil. So choosing right from wrong. That's been the issue with mankind. Sorry about the clock. Let's wait a second. Let's let our grandfather clock ring a bit here. Gotta let it chime the hour. I forgot that was there. Okay. Thank you for bearing with me. I like the grandfather clock. Okay, so starting that thought over. So choosing right from wrong has been the issue with mankind since Adam and Eve were in the garden. God puts them there and he gives them everything, and he just tells them there's this one tree that you should not and cannot eat from or you'll die. And so they're given a choice. They're given free choice even back from that point. And because God wasn't vague with them, he didn't put the tree there and then expect them to know that they shouldn't eat from it. He just told them straight out that they could not eat from that tree. He didn't want them to eat from that tree, but they could have every other tree in that whole entire garden. And God does that today. We don't have guesswork as choosing right from wrong. We have our Bibles, whether they're on your phone or whether they're a book in your hand. It's all clearly spelled out, whether it's exact or by principle, by reading God's word, by listening to sermons, by studying on our own. We can easily know, even a child can know right from wrong. And there we go with another clock. Eve in the garden, she had to choose, and that choice had a great consequence for all of mankind, didn't it? Both of their choices. She started it, but then she also involved Adam in the sin, and their choice had a great influence over us today. We're not in that garden. We wish we could be, but because of their bad choice, it had a great influence. But a good choice can have a same kind of influence over a vast number of people. And that's something we should never forget either, that our good choices, that our following what's right has an influence and an impact that goes on, and it can affect a lot more people than just ourselves. God wants us to know Him. He wants us to know His will and to make the good choices based on those things that we learn. I want to turn to Romans 1 and verse 20, something that Paul wrote. Romans. Flipping through my phone here to find Romans. Romans chapter 1 and verse 20. Paul wrote, "For the invisible things of Him from the creation of the world are clearly seen, being understood by the things that are made, even His eternal power and Godhead, so that they are without excuse." So you see that even in lieu of the complete word that we have and we enjoy, creation itself is a testament to God's existence, and therefore wanting to know and seeking to know what He wants of us. He says that they're without excuse. Everybody is without excuse. To look around you and to see creation and to use the logical mind that God gave you to know that there is a creator. There's a creator that's higher than me, and I want to know what His will is for me. And His will, because of the providence of God, is everywhere. I mean, the Bible is everywhere. And it's up to us to know it. And thereby, we have no excuse. Well, I didn't know. Or, we can know His will, and we can live by His grace once, we know that we need to be baptized, and then we live by His grace. Yeah, we're going to be stumbling and have points of ignorance. Maybe we don't understand fully certain things about His will, but He has grace and mercy for those that are striving and struggling to know it. And God gave us a conscience. I mean, yes, there are people that have trouble with that. There are mentally ill folks out there. But when you don't have an excuse or a reason of illness or something wrong, you have a conscience, and everybody has it, and it tells you things. I mean, you know that things are wrong, but it's amazing how people can have, as the Bible describes, their conscience seared with a hot iron. I mean, you think about that, the deadening of flesh, of if something has been seared and the nerves destroyed and the flesh destroyed there, that it's a numbness there. There are people that just are so willing to let their conscience be seared that they're just in for everything that Satan has to offer. We see it all the time these days. And I say these days, it's been around forever. I mean, sometimes I look at TV, I look at videos of the things that are going on out there and all the groups that are clamoring to be heard and the craziness that's going on in the world. And I think to myself, maybe this is how it was in the days of Noah, when every man was doing what was right in their own eyes, with their conscience seared, to not hear God's voice, to not listen to that voice that God gave you in your head anymore. So, we're without excuse. We should naturally want to know more about God's will. Like I said, if you've recognized that there is a God, and you shouldn't deny it, even though people do. It's there. You can't deny what's there. So you want to know more, and to help you in your daily walk, to say, should I do this or should I do that? We're good at talking ourselves into things. We're good at, I know that maybe I shouldn't do that, but, and we come up with things, and people will do it for us as well. So, when we start listening to that conscience that God gave us, and we start, shunning all of the worldly wisdom, which really isn't wisdom, our hearts are open, our minds are open, and we get God-given wisdom from the Bible to show us what is right and what is wrong. And obviously these midwives were in tune with that. It says they feared God. They respected God. I don't know if these were Egyptian women. I mean, they're talking about, well, the Hebrew women, this and that, and it's just interesting because I just wonder about them. We're really not told too much about them other than this, but that's enough because, we can gather a lot from what we're told. They did a great, amazing thing, and they were blessed for it. I mean, Pharaoh didn't touch them. He was upset with them, but God blessed them. And, God was obviously with them through all of that. Now, the Bible says God is not the author of confusion. I'm not going to turn there, but that's 1 Corinthians 14:33. God is not the author of confusion. So there's a lot of religious confusion. There's a lot of just people confusion. Like I said, right and wrong confusion. We've got politicians trying to tell us what's right, what's wrong. All kinds of groups out there saying they're right and somebody else is wrong. And God isn't the author of confusion. So you can always trust that what God says is going to be the right way to go. It's only Satan that's the author of confusion, and he loves confusion. All of his devices are out there to confuse people, to see the signs on the highway that say how good marijuana must be for you, and order it and get it delivered to your door, and just be responsible, and all those things. And another issue that I want to get to, that the midwives and what they did reminded me of, is that people today, or for quite some time now, have been pretty much taking up where Pharaoh left off for infants. We have abortion clinics all over the place, killing millions of innocent lives every year. Millions. I saw a figure once that was 9 million. I don't know, but I mean, I fully believe that. Could even be more. Innocent babies. And they have every reason under the sun. Oh, but this. Oh, but that. Oh, how it's good. How it's wonderful. I won't say who, but somebody in the political spectrum saying it was reproductive justice. And I had to think of justice for who? Not justice for the infant who has no choice but to grow up in a womb that God created for him to grow in. He didn't choose to be there, but God gave him a soul. And to say that it's anything else, you would never think that you would get to the point in life where you would have to try to prove or explain how this is a human being and a life, because they're killing these babies up until the very last time that they're having in the womb, right up until they're almost ready to be naturally born. They're happily going in there and killing them. And to be silent on that issue, to just be mum on it, because see, the devil would want you to say, no, I'm not touching that. That's political. That's just somebody's choice, or we tell ourselves any number of things, and every time you do that, you're putting that brand on your skin and searing it just a little bit in that area. I don't want to touch that. And to me, it's just so horrible. It's enough to keep a person awake at night to think of what's going on in our world, and that we could turn a blind eye to it. Don't ever do that. Don't let politicians or groups of people or educated people or any number of people try to tell you that's not something that we as Christians should be thinking about. Think about these midwives. They were told by a very powerful man, the most powerful man in authority there, that they should be killing these babies for his own purpose. And yet they refused. And we need to be mindful of that. We need to be mindful that life belongs to God. God gives it. And it's Satan that puts the spin on things, that tells you, leave that alone, don't talk about that. So yeah, I couldn't help but think about that. We have to think of those living beings. We have to think of the influence that these women had. We have to think about our daily walk and how we can have influence over everybody that we meet in one way or another for the positive. The actions of Puah and Shiphrah, they clearly opened the path for Moses to be born. So, think of even today, every infant life that could be saved, what their potential could have been, or what God might have wanted for that baby, for the future, a future Christian, of somebody that could bring others to Christ, or any number of things that you think about that could benefit society, that they're being wiped out by the millions. Yes, there goes my clock again. So, there shouldn't be a gray area there. We can know what's right and what's wrong. We don't have to think that anything's gray. We don't have to worry about it. We've got our Bibles. Like I said, it's convenient as I carry it around with me all the time in my phone here. I can look at it anytime. And you've got your word with you too at home. And you can look at it anytime and solve these issues for yourself. You have to open your mind to that. Just put away all those crazy voices that Satan wants you to listen to, and be like these midwives were. And it doesn't have to be just about the infant issue and saving lives that way, but any other issue you can think of to have an impact in your little part of the world where you are. You can do that just in the simplest of ways, just by being a Christian woman, by being kind, caring, willing to help, supportive of your minister and your elders, speaking a kind word to the cashier at the grocery, any number of ways that you're letting Christ be seen in you, being approachable and being faithful and in what you do, and just so many ways that a woman can influence her world. So just be like these midwives were, and be able to recognize and discern good from evil. I just really want to emphasize that, because this world we live in is so full of confusion and so many clamoring voices trying to tell us, even in the church, what we should be saying or doing or believing. Don't ever let all that cloud you. We're just so we're so attacked these days, like I said, because we get it coming and going. We get it, so much news and stuff from every corner of the globe. Back in the old days, you lived in a little town and you just knew what was going on around you. But these days, we get it everywhere from all corners. So just be mindful of that. Be keen. Have your senses in tune for Satan's devices, because they can be very subtle. They can be very subtle. They're not ever in your face. It can be a progression of things to where pretty soon you find your senses starting to deaden to the things you're seeing on TV or the voices you're hearing on the news. And the news, buying hook, line, and sinker what any news network is telling you is a big no-no. They're out there with an agenda, let's just say that. Schools have an agenda for your children. The news has an agenda for your mind. All of these groups that are not Christian and have no desire to be are out there trying to tell the Christian what's right and what's wrong. But only God can do that, okay? Remember that. Only God can do that. So, in conclusion, and just to wrap this up, like I said, I'm going to do more of these. Next time we'll talk about Moses' real mother, who gave birth to him, and his little sister who looked after him, and eventually we'll get to his wife. But just to wrap up, Joshua 4 says, in our lives, when we learn truths about God through the circumstances of our lives, they become like stones of remembrance. Okay, so just think of that, a stone that is really just a nice, hard, fast, permanent fixture. Truths about God that we learn are stones of remembrance. So just have that in your life this week and every week. And thank you for putting up with me and all my clock stinging and my mistakes. And I hope to see you next time. Thank you.